Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to a very special kind of book review today. I'm not sure what I'm going to call this. Maybe like first time read or first impression, not really sure. But today's video is going to be a book review, yes, but more a first impression of a new author to me. Now, Poppy C. Brite is not new. I have seen his work all over Horror BookTube and have been wanting to pick it up for some time now, but just never got around to it. So a little bit of backstory. I've recently been sick, and because I didn't want to go out into the world and share my germs with everyone at the library that I so dearly love, I thought I would stay home and dive into this pile of books that I've been sent by friends and subscribers, specifically Rooftop. Rooftop sent me a bunch of books recently, and oh my gosh, have I just been plowing through them. So one of the books he sent me was Poppy C. Brite, Lost Souls. Now, this particular book happens to be about vampires, so I was on board, kind of going in. It definitely solidified the reason that Poppy C. Brite keeps popping up on everybody's to read. I've even seen the name come up on like top 10 or top 5 books of 2021 on a number of channels, and with good reason now. So let's talk about the book first, and then we'll talk about the author and my first impressions. So I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free. I know, PAX doesn't do really well with spoiler free reviews, but I'm going to try for you guys because it's not really the focus of this video today. But Alex over at the Bookubus about a year ago now did a wonderful video reviewing this book, which I will link down below. If you're wanting more of a book focused video, I highly recommend hers. So let's get into the story. Now, I know I'm talking to a group of horror lovers, and you guys know I've said it in the past. Horror is not a genre that typically holds back. You know, horror sort of takes the guardrails off, yeah? However, I do like to give some, I guess what you would call trigger warnings, because I feel like if you've clicked on this video wanting to know about this book, and there are certain aspects of your experiences in your life that you don't want to revisit, that you might appreciate knowing that certain things are in a book. So the biggest one that stands out to me in this book is some incestuous behaviors with some of the characters. Now, I will say that the reason for this behavior is because in this particular world, vampires are not humans that have been bitten and changed. Vampires in this book are a different species altogether. They're a different type of creature. And as such, they don't subscribe to the moral compass that humans do. So that is sort of given as a reason for some of the incestuous behaviors, but I did want to mention it in case that happens to be a triggering thing for you. Just keep that in mind. So let's get into it. We open with a number of characters. There are so many characters in this book, and one thing I have to say, have you guys ever read a book where you have a number of different character storylines happening and you find yourself ranking them? I do that. Like I'll say, I like this storyline better, oh, I wish we would get back to this storyline, I don't like this one as good. I didn't do that with this book. I got invested in all of them and didn't get bored with a single one. I loved it. I thought that was really amazing too. I was really shocked as the book progressed that I was equally invested in all of the storylines. So we have our human characters, Steve and Ghost, and Ghost, easily one of my favorite characters. He's a seer, and no, that is not a spoiler. It is integrated into him as a character. It is never like pushed in your face like, hey, this guy's psychic. You just know that about him as the character progresses, and it's beautifully done. Oh my gosh, it's beautifully done. His physical appearance, his abilities, everything. But you know what he reminded me of? And I know you guys are going to laugh at me. I know you are. But you know I'm a nerd. He reminded me of Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He had that same like pure nature about him. But he wasn't a pushover. He was very courageous, especially when it came to his friends and family. And I loved that. Oh my gosh, he was easily one of my favorite characters. Loved him. So the next one is a vampire that was cut straight out of the Anne Rice cloth, Christian. He has a bar in New Orleans. And can we just say, I've never been to New Orleans, but oh my gosh, does it sound gorgeous? I can totally see it being the lair of vampires. So he is the oldest of all of our vampires, and it totally shows in his character. He has a maturity about him that our other vampires do not possess. But it's awesome. If you like that, like Lestat type brooding, I'm so old, I've seen everything, and I'm super jaded type of vampire, you're gonna really love Christian. So our next two vampires I'm going to lump together because that's kind of what they are, lumps. Twig and who I called Molokai in my head. I know you guys do that. You call them something in your head and that's just who they are forever. Even if like they make a movie about it and they pronounce it differently, you still call it that in your head. Yeah, Molokai. That's what his name is. So they are like the henchman vampires, and I know you know what I'm talking about. Henchman is both like their character and their description. You know, they're big, they're powerful, and they have this devotion to their leader, who I'll get to in a minute, but it's really not like a friendly devotion. At least it didn't come off that way to me. It was more like, you know, we're your henchmen, we're going to follow you because you're giving us some of the stuff we want and let us live the life we want, so that's why we're here. That was Twig and Molokai. So then let's get to Zilla. Now Zilla is the clear-cut leader of this little trio of Zilla, Twig, and Molokai. And oh my goodness, was he an amazing character. He is probably one of my most favorite villainous type characters. He's painted as the obvious bad guy, but not really that obvious because he has that whole like cold beauty on lock. You know what I'm talking about. You know how like vampires, they are able to be very like cut off from their emotions. Zilla has that on lock. And oh my gosh, the descriptions of him were just absolutely beautiful. Now, as I'm sitting here talking about it, it's probably because a lot of his descriptions revolved around his flamboyant green eyes. And you know your girl has a penchant for that color. So maybe that's why I liked him so much. So then we get to our like hero's journey character, Nothing. That's his name, Nothing. Now, Nothing is a 15-year-old boy. Now, there are happenings in this book that made me frequently forget that Nothing was only 15 years old. You know, I guess in the realm of the vampire, age really doesn't matter that much. I mean, when you don't grow any older, what does it matter, your years? Except for maybe like if you're in that vampire world where the older you are, the stronger you are, then maybe it matters. But by and large, I imagine the progression of years doesn't mean a whole lot to a vampire. So we really do have a story of like a hero's journey, especially with Nothing. But like I said before, you really get involved in all of these characters. And, you know, you have this progression of all of these characters kind of coming together, and you see this growth in just about all of them, except for maybe Twig and Molokai. But, I mean, they're henchmen. How often do henchmen get growth? And it made the ending, when all of these stories came together, just that much sweeter to the reader, because you were so invested in all of them, you really wanted to see where this came out. So guys, I'm going to leave the book review there. I hope I've whet your palate a little bit for this book. So if you like vampires and you've never read Poppy Z. Brite, in the same boat as me, I highly recommend starting here. You'll love it. So guys, let's get into my impressions of Poppy Z. Brite as having never read anything by him before. If I had to describe Poppy Z. Brite's work in one word, I would say descriptive. So a little sad story about me. My boyfriend likes to make fun of me because when I was in high school, I was forced to read Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, and I distinctly remember hating it. Now, I have not revisited it or really much of Hemingway's work as an adult, so take that for what it is. But he likes to poke fun at me because I'm a huge book nerd and I hate The Old Man and the Sea. But I remember being so stinking bored, and I think it was largely because of, you know, the subject matter. You know, it was an old man with a fish, and it just bored me. So it's funny to me looking back to see kind of like how you progress as a reader, because I loved the descriptive nature of Poppy Z. Brite. And based on some of the little bits and pieces I've picked up from other people's videos, I feel like that is a consistency across his work. One thing I have to say that really shocked me is as I was going through this book and noticing the descriptive nature of the writing, I was expecting to start to get bored. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've been there. You know you've been in the middle of a book and an author is describing like the sweater that one of the characters is wearing, and in the back of your mind you're like, okay, fine, whatever, get back to the story. I never did this with this book. Now, that could be because it was about vampires, so of course I enjoyed the subject matter right out of the gate. It could also be because it had to do a lot with like the culture that I really like to revel in. You know, the music, it had, oh my gosh, it had such good references to music throughout this book. Bauhaus and a number of others. And, you know, for the tiny little aught kid in me, whenever one of the characters was like, I put on a cassette and then the Bauhaus started playing, you know, whatever, or I walked into this club and Stigmata Martyr was playing, you know, I was like, yes! So maybe that had something to do with it, but I really don't think so. I think it was a mark of good writing. To be able to describe something, and also never drop the ball in any facet of your descriptions, because sometimes people are really good at describing taste or smell or whatever. Poppy Z. Brite, good at describing all of it. You could smell the cloves, you know, you could taste the foam on the beer, you could feel the bed sheets. It's amazing. Very, very strong, descriptive author. Loved it. If I could say nothing else, that is what stood out to me, really and truly. You know, and it really made the story come alive. It really did. So if you're here wanting to know like a raw first-time impression of Poppy Z. Brite's work, that is the biggest thing I can give you to take away. Incredibly descriptive author. So guys, thank you for hanging around for another video. I know this one was a little bit different, but I thought it would be kind of cool just to get like a first-time unfiltered opinion about an author that is just so popular, you know, in the booktube community and in horror in general. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. And until next time, bye for now.